Hello and welcome. You're watching The Buck Stops Here and I'm Barkha Dutt. On the program today, the big story. Today, the Congress took its protests against what it called rising intolerance straight to the president's door. President Pranab Mukherjee, of course, has now 3 times spoken on the need for tolerance and to preserve our diversity and pluralism. But on the program today, we ask whether politics has now stolen a march, literally and metaphorically, on the tolerance debate. This as more and more people join the chorus of voices that are calling for India's diversity to be protected. Coming up at 9:30 tonight, excerpts from my interview with Shah Rukh Khan, who's saying that to be a patriot and not be secular is the worst crime. This is the other new thing that on Twitter you express an opinion, people don't get, please go to Pakistan.
वो तो वही बोलते रहते हैं सारा दिन. माँ बहन की गालियाँ देते हैं, बहुत गंदी गालियाँ देते हैं. I always say this is a country where my father fought for the freedom and he gave me a piece of it, so I'm very proud of it, and I'm not giving away what my father gave to anyone or leaving it any which way. So please shut up. I mean, that's it. Bottom line, shut up.
That's at 9:30, but let's start with our top story tonight. Sonia Gandhi led Congress members of Parliament to Rashtrapati Bhavan to talk about rising intolerance. But when Rahul Gandhi was questioned about 1984, he ducked the question, instead accusing Arun Jaitley and the BJP of mocking writers for leading a manufactured revolt, but saying that it was the BJP that was responsible for manufacturing an environment that had turned toxic. Let's introduce our panel this evening. Joining us is Union Minister for Environment, Prakash Javadekar. Joining me from the Congress is Khushbu Sundar, spokesperson of the party. With me in the studio, Siddharth Vardarajan, senior journalist and editor, Ashok Malik, senior journalist, author and writer. And also with us on the program is Sohail Seth. Mr. Javadekar, I'll start with you. How do you see this march today by the Congress party? So far, leaders like Arun Jaitley have been describing those who are protesting as rabid anti-BJP elements. And while you can call the Congress that, there are other people, Shah Rukh Khan, Narayan Murthy, Zubin Mehta, who have also underlined the same apprehension, the same fear. How do you now see this becoming a mainstream political issue, and even an issue on which agencies like Moody's are now commenting when they look at the investment environment?
As far as there are two reactions. First, to the Congress.
Yes.
Congress is doing politics and not out of conviction on ideological issue and debate of intolerance.
Yes.
But out of frustration that they are out of power and the vested interests they nurtured so much for years together are getting hurt by our actions. So that is their reaction. As far as other artists and writers are concerned,
Yes.
Rajnath ji has made a very sincere appeal to them that please come, we want to engage and give your suggestions. I think let us not forget that India is not Middle East. India is not that kind of crisis-ridden country. We have, our strength is democracy, our strength is diversity. And our cultural ethos, Indian ethos, is all about accommodation.
But you know, Prakash
and it accommodates all views.
But Prakash ji, what?
And therefore, everybody has a right to dissent.
Yes.
And that dissent has to be respected, though you may not agree. Everybody has a right to dissent. So to that extent, I grant right to dissent even to Congress. But Congress will have to answer many questions because they are epitome of intolerance by their deeds over 50 years of their rule.
But let me ask you before I open it up to the panel, what Rajnath Singh finally said, that he's willing to spend a whole day talking to writers and artists who are upset. This could have come sooner. Instead, the writers and those returning awards, the filmmakers, they were branded as enemies. They were branded as politically motivated. You know, all kind of names were used for them. They were called motivated. So do you think the government has approached this entire debate incorrectly to the extent that the president has now had to speak on it 3 times?
No, let me again tell you. What is being referred to? Murder of Kalburgi.
Yes.
The very worst, heinous crime of Dadri lynching.
Yes.
And I condemn, and even Dabholkar killing and Govind Pansari killing.
Yes.
I condemn each and every incident, and we have done it when they happened also. And we demand, but that is not BJP government. That nothing to do with center, not even BJP, because
Yes.
Dadri is a Samajwadi. They should have taken march to Mulayam's house, not to Rashtrapati Bhavan.
Let me put that to Khushbu
Because he
Sundar.
is directly responsible. 1 minute. Then Kalburgi,
Yes.
such a big writer, his security was withdrawn by Siddaramaiah government. How can Congress escape answers? It was Prithviraj Chauhan who spoke today. It was who was presiding over Maharashtra when Narendra Dabholkar,
Yes,
our
and when
friend,
he
was
wanted the
killed
Sanatan Sanstha to be
in
banned.
Pune.
Yes.
And now, after Govind Pansare's murder, Devendra Fadnavis government has caught suspects. They have cracked the case.
Okay. Let me put this to the Congress
If we
spokesperson.
don't
now.
want to see the truth,
Prakash ji, let me get the others now.
God can only help.
Let me get others in. Khushbu Sundar, the most revealing moment of today's protest march is at the end when Rahul Gandhi is asked a direct question on 1984. He either pretends he hasn't heard or he just ignores it and he goes on with the point he's making. Now, even if the point he's making on what's happening in the broader environment of the country is legitimate, the Congress does have to confront its own roles. It does have to confront the riots that have taken place on its watch. It does have to confront the silencing or the censorship of books, whether it's a Rushdie or a James Lane book on Shivaji in Maharashtra. The Congress doesn't really have a sterling record. So if you're going to duck these questions, how are you going to have an honest debate on tolerance?
Duck the question. It's just that
didn't
every
answer
time.
it.
No, he doesn't. He didn't answer it. He's spoken about it when he was there for the Bihar elections. He's spoken it at length about it, and he have already gone on and saying that what happened in 1984, the riots happened in 1984, and Congress has gone ahead and given an apology to the entire nation on that. So why is that BJP keeps going back to 84? We have offered an apology. We have spoken about it. We have had debates on it. We have seen the debacles of 84. We have seen how the Congress has failed after that. We have seen how it has come back to power. But what we are trying to say is what has happened. They say it's a very unfortunate incident what happened in Dadri. And why should the BJP be blamed? The BJP should be blamed is because they let it go far.
But Khushbu, Digvijay is saying is one of your senior most leaders, and he's lining up to say actually the cow ban slaughter was initiated by the Congress. It's not as if the Congress is saying that meat politics should not matter.
No.
Want credit
it's not
for
about
this.
meat politics. It was there, but see, we had brought in the law. We had brought
exactly
in
my point.
Right, but
it's not like you're taking the most
no,
liberal position.
it's not. But a man was not lynched to death just because on suspicion saying that he was cooking a meat.
And how do you respond to Mr. Javadekar saying that government was a Samajwadi Party government?
No, that's what I'm saying. They led it to that extent. The people who did this, the people who lynched, did not belong to Samajwadi Party. We have to accept they did not belong to Samajwadi Party.
But they are not BJP.
They
are neither BJP.
They are the package of Hindutva which has been built by the BJP.
Propaganda.
When we have had
propaganda,
Sakshi Maharaj speaking, when we had
which
Giriraj
I want
speaking, when we have had different
nip
people
in the bud,
speaking.
no?
Okay, I'll allow Mr.
No.
Javadekar a quick interjection and then I want to open
Absolutely
it up.
wrong.
Yeah. Mr. Javadekar, a local BJP worker's son among the accused. You've had Aditya Nath landing up there with his, with his entourage, making all kinds of inflammatory statements. You've had your culture minister calling it an accident instead of a conspiracy to kill. So, all around, nobody really shines in this.
I'll answer. First, we always believe that food is a personal choice, and if every state has some laws, every citizen has to respect the laws. That's all. So there is no issue. What has
What is
happened?
the beef man about it?
Mulayam Singh, 1 minute, Akhilesh government books with political agenda, somebody not directly of BJP but wants to bring in BJP somehow, will not stand the scrutiny of law.
Okay,
You can't say this.
The point is that has this debate got completely politicized? Siddharth, let me start with you and then get Suhail and Ashok in. Aditya Nath was a member of parliament, I should correct myself, who sent his people. He didn't go himself. But the statements that came gives Congress ammunition. However, when we look at the history of contemporary India, there are enough things to use against the Congress. Are we now seeing a kind of my intolerance versus your intolerance competitive battlefield?
Look, I'm not interested in Congress versus BJP, quite frankly.
But that's what you're seeing on the streets of Delhi today.
That may well be, and parties will take advantage. Just like after Dadri happened, the BJP, despite the facts of the case, BJP MPs, BJP MLAs, a minister went to Dadri or spoke about Dadri and said the most atrocious things. So they were also playing politics and taking advantage. So if they are going to do that, Congress will also do it, others will do it, right? So that shouldn't concern me, quite frankly, that the parties are fighting. But I think the BJP, as the government which rules the country, as part of the NDA, cannot evade its responsibility to lead the country in a responsible manner. And that requires, even when you're not responsible for an incident, to speak about it with empathy for the victims, to use language which does not inflame passions further, to not make the kind of statements that Balyan or the Haryana Chief Minister or Sangeet Som,
so you're
Mahesh
saying,
Sharma have
saying
made.
to you the Congress is irrelevant, the Sonia Gandhi march is irrelevant, the Rahul Gandhi, this thing you want to hear from the top leadership of the BJP.
I don't like the fact that whether it's Narendra Modi talking about 84 in Purnia, one could, like, as Pulka turned around and said, what have you done? And you've been here for 18 months. You've given a clean chit to Sajjan Kumar case has not proceeded. Titler's case has not proceeded. So, you know, I'm saying everybody's playing politics.
Prakash Javadekar, quick response, and Suhail and Ashok.
Yeah, absolutely, very clear. I was pained, and I am always pained when you see things like what happened in Dadri. And as I said, I gave reaction on that day, Barkha, that food is a personal choice and law of the land has to be respected. No media house run that comment because everybody wants to sensationalize.
No, maybe
Nobody
it's
wants
because you're
to
one of
be
the few reasonable
listening to
people
reason.
who's talking reasonably, and the people who are talking in an inflammatory way are the ones that grab the headlines, Prakash ji. It's very good that you're saying that food should not be an excuse for violence, but not enough people are saying that.
But what I'm saying is, in Dadri, we condemned. We did not justify, or neither Narendra Modi or anybody senior leader from ours justified like what Rajiv Gandhi justified of 84
Nobody spoke.
Isn't the culture minister a senior
Yes.
person?
But nobody spoke.
Prakash ji, isn't Mahesh
He
Sharma?
immediately clarified.
No, Prakash ji, isn't Mahesh
No, he
Sharma?
clarified.
Isn't Culture
He
Minister Mahesh
clarified.
Sharma a senior minister?
Yeah.
He
Go back and look at
clarified.
what he said.
He clarified.
Okay.
He clarified immediately.
Clarified what? He justified.
Yeah,
he essentially
justified.
said that.
No.
Let's take it.
He actually not only clarified, he practically withdrew it.
Okay, let's
say it and then you
bring
withdraw
it
it.
back. Let's bring it back to whether it is possible to have this debate dispassionately without politics, stealing a march. Sohail, you write on Twitter saying, I'm now getting very intolerant about this intolerance rant. Can we please move our gaze to things that are good and positive? But, it's not just the Congress party. It is well-respected voices of the community, of civil society, from Shah Rukh Khan to Narayan Murthy to Zubin Mehta, who are saying that this, what's happening around them, the comments they hear, they're not taking political sides, but they believe that there's something kind of toxic in the environment.
So
You
tell
are
me,
asking
Barkha,
Yes.
if I interview you,
Yes.
and my first question to you is, when was the last time you beat up your boyfriend? What are you going to say?
What does that
so I
mean?
think at
What
times
does
the
that
media
mean?
has played a very pernicious role. I'll tell you. If you ask someone, is intolerance bad? Of course the guy is going to say it's bad. And then it's played out of context. And you're making out an entire 1.28 billion people as if we've gone insane, nuts. We're on the verge of an Armageddon, on the verge of war. The fact is, we, as Siddharth, I think, mentioned, or someone mentioned, we as a country are intolerant. We are intolerant about everything. What happened to the children of the Northeast in Bangalore? What used to happen every year on Valentine's Day?
But how
What
does
were
that
people like
change the
Praveen
essential
Togadia and
debate?
Owaisi
The
doing?
essential debate is about political
So
accountability,
So
and
the
anyone the
essential-
media
no,
interviews. So
what
in
used
this,
to
let me
happen-
say one thing. Anyone the
Now, see,
media
I didn't-
interviews in this
I didn't-
environment
I
is
didn't
fully
interrupt.
aware of the
Barkha,
context. It's fully
Barkha,
aware of the
Barkha,
context in which they're being asked that question.
Barkha, let's play fair on this show. I didn't interrupt you. Don't interrupt me, because let me base
complete
the
your
argument
point. Yeah,
logically.
sure.
Khushbu Sundar very rightly says that Rahul Gandhi mentioned 1984 in Bihar. Well, now the BJP will tell you, so did Narendra Modi. He expressed some level of empathy. Now, it may not be to the satisfaction of
2002?
everyone in the country. I'm not even interested, hear me out, I'm not even interested, as Siddharth says, in the BJP or the Congress. What are we doing today? We are creating a perception which we are funneling down through media, through channels, through television, through newspapers, that brand India is in turmoil. There is fear. Minorities need to worry. And this country is at the end of a glorious period. But the reality, Barkha, is that why are we not focusing on some of the essentials. For instance, to my mind, and yes, people have been idiots making statements, but then the media also chooses only idiots to interview. Yes, there have been stupid statements made from cabinet ministers.
You have been interviewed today. What about that?
Does
that include you, Mr. Suhail Seth?
I beg your pardon?
I said
Well,
only
I
idiots
didn't
have been
interrupt you.
interviewed.
Who's
You are
this
on the
person who-
debate today, so that includes you in the list of the idiots.
Of course.
Great.
Of course, it includes
I like
you
that.
as well. It includes everyone.
Okay, come on, let's get back to
I'm
the
not
issue,
selective,
yeah.
Khushbu. And when I need your advice, I'll rattle your case. Let me finish.
You don't need it.
So I want
I'll
to just
save it
say
for
a
someone
couple
better.
of things. A couple of things. Number one, we are creating a perception that everything is all right. But let me let you know, everything was all right for a long, long time. Now is the time to course correct. So where I'm delighted is that we are bringing back the focus on democratic values. But it's not as if these values were never threatened before or may never be threatened in the future. Number two, I think the Prime Minister needs to rein in his people and his party colleagues. Because they make
Exactly, that's what
stupid
we've been
statements, it lands at his doorstep. And but, yeah, you know, who's this person who keeps interrupting here? Either you allow people to stop, you know, you can't make this into
complete
another
your point.
program.
I think Khushbu was trying to get a word in, but briefly
No, I
complete your
can't
point.
complete, Barkha. You cannot. No, Barkha, you cannot have a civilized debate with civility lacking. So let me finish. The second thing is the Prime Minister needs to rein in cabinet colleagues and party people for precisely the reason that Varadarajan mentioned. This is the party that is ruling the country, not the Congress, not SP or whoever it is.
Okay.
The third thing, to my mind, as a solution, see, I'm not interested in the problem. We all know where the problem is. The third is we must allow apolitical rule of law. So the people who throw ink, the people who beat up people must face demonstrable punishment, which the media should highlight.
Sure.
So that it serves as some form of deterrent. Today
Agreed.
what is happening is people are seeing this as a brazen way of being blessed by the powers that we go out and attack.
Yeah.
So Shiv Sena's Uddhav Thackeray will be blessing his troop, someone else will be blessing his troop,
Yeah.
and people think we can get away with blue murder.
Okay.
That's the essential.
So let me get a shock in on that. I agree with the last part of what you've said, but the first part seems to argue that this is a media-driven exaggeration, a media-driven sort of hyperbolic thing. If so...
At times.
At times. If so, why is the government locked in this almost personalized battle with anyone who's choosing to speak against them
Since
on this issue?
He's had several minutes to speak,
Yeah,
maybe about
yeah.
three. There are three strands to this whole intolerance within double quotes debate, starting with Dadri and ending with the march today, the awards return, all of that. One, there is the government. I think there's been a serious problem with the government's messaging and communication. It has either been absent. In Dadri, it should have happened much more quickly. An authoritative and clear statement on behalf of the Prime Minister or a very senior minister on behalf of the government should have come immediately. It took a long time coming.
Yeah.
Okay. And Mahesh Sharma was speaking of his own. He was a local MP also.
Yeah.
He was not supposed to be a spokesperson. It led to a lot of confusion. Tarun Vijay's article made things worse. So, and when the government has spoken, at times it has tended to be over-combative. So it's either been non-communication or sometimes it's been
Over-aggressive,
It's been over-aggressive, which doesn't go down well. People don't want the government to come out so aggressive either. Any government. That's one. Second, there are two strands of people protesting. There are some people who instinctively are hostile to the BJP and are imagining the worst of a party they are very uncomfortable with. But their hostility, I would say, is honest. They genuinely, I don't agree with them, but they genuinely believe this party is bad for India.
Yeah.
Okay. For example, Nayanthara Sehgal, I don't think she's acting on behalf of one party or another. I think she genuinely believes this is a bad party. But she has a right to. I don't agree with her, but
that's
she
a
has
political
a right.
preference,
That's
and
her
that's not
position.
to do with the larger tolerance debate.
That's her position. That's
Yeah.
fine. There are also those who, frankly, are closer to the Congress camp and who have benefited from the Congress camp.
Yeah.
And who are now merging into the Congress's political campaign against this government, which again the Congress has a right to do because it's a political party after all, and it's hammering away at what I believe is a non-issue.
What is a non-issue?
India is an imperfect democracy. It has been an imperfect democracy for years, since Pandit Nehru's time.
Correct.
There are many good things about it, there are many imperfect things about it. It has not become remarkably more imperfect since May 2014.
Can I just say one thing to Prakash Javadekar though? Prakash Javadekar, Ashok Malik's point is too much time to communicate. When the communication happened, then at times it was needlessly personal about those who were raising this issue. What has remained in this unanswered, is that the Prime Minister himself has chosen not to speak. And you know, if you saw Vikram Mehta writing in the Indian Express today, he argued that when Narendra Modi fought virtually a presidential campaign, then he can't say my government has spoken, my ministers have spoken, he has to speak.
No, you can't expect every time that on everyday morning breakfast news he goes on condemning or commending one item of the news and other item of the news and so many things happening. That's not done. What is important is, I agree to an extent Ashokji's point that yes, it was late reaction. And now, see, I firmly believe that our success or failure, everything gives us some new lessons.
Yes.
So every incident also teaches us. And we are learning party. So we are thinking party. So you will you will witness more frank and right communication.
So what is the lesson,
at
sir?
Right time.
Sir, what is the lesson? I'm really pleased to hear you actually strike this note, because you're the
right
only person I've
communication.
interviewed in days who's actually saying this. What is the lesson?
No, right communication at right time. Because when we are not, this is one case
Yes.
where we are absolutely not responsible.
Yeah.
And as if the whole world started debating as we are responsible. Neither we are instigating, not we are saying, not we are propagating, not we are commending anybody.
Yeah.
And still, the blame actually is of somebody else.
Okay,
And
Ashok,
it comes to our doorstep.
Ashok and then Siddharth.
We will ensure that it doesn't happen again.
Where Sohail blamed the media. This,
Yes.
I think his criticism is a bit overdone. But
I didn't blame.
Okay, just a moment. I'll just. Each time some idiot who happens to belong to a party does something, like
Yes.
today there's a man in Shimoga who says, I'll behead Siddaramaiah if he eats beef.
Yes.
Now, he happens to be from the BJP, he's been arrested now and he should be locked up.
Yes.
I don't think we can conflate that with the institutional position of the BJP. For instance, in 1994, a youth
Correct.
Congress leader in Delhi killed his wife and pushed her body into a tandoor.
Yes.
Would it be fair to say the Youth Congress as a party is responsible? Or the Youth Congress is a party of wife beaters and wife killers? That would be completely untrue. It's one individual who happens to belong to a party, perhaps. I mean, but we need to distinguish that person. You know, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi or Mr. Narasimha Rao at that point was not responsible for that idiot who murdered his wife. Just as Narendra Modi or Amit Shah is not responsible.
We did, when I say we, I'm saying in the public discourse, Rajiv Gandhi was made to answer for 1984. Narendra Modi was made to answer.
1984
Happened on their watch.
Was a much larger conflagration.
say,
Even 2002, as Chief Minister, Narendra Modi was asked questions and should have been asked questions. I'm talking about individual crimes.
Journalism is often about connecting dots.
Yes.
Right? So the statement of this nutcase, BJP nutcase in Karnataka, or the statement of the Haryana Chief Minister who says Muslims can live as Muslims if they like, but if they are in India, they have to stop eating beef.
Yeah.
The statement of Mahesh
Completely
Sharma.
ridiculous
Yes.
statement. I agree with
Right?
it. I agree
So,
with it.
so
He has not
and
said.
then
He has not
and
said.
then the article.
Show me
I'm
very
sorry. He said it.
No.
He said it. He said मुस्लिम मुसलमान मुसलमान रह सकता है लेकिन हिंदुस्तान में बीफ खाना छोड़ना पड़ेगा. ये उनका स्टेटमेंट है, हिंदी में भी छपा है. Mr. Khattar statement.
But then he was rebuked. We were
But
told
he was
that
not.
he was
I'm sorry.
called.
I'm sorry, Mr. Jaitley.
BJP said.
I'm
BJP
sorry.
said he was
I'm
rebuked.
sorry. Mr. Jaitley clarified that there
He
were
has
three
not said.
gentlemen called. Khattar was not part of them. Khattar has not been rebuked, just like Mahesh Sharma has not been rebuked for saying that Kalam Musliman hote hue bhi ek deshbhakt the. Okay, so when senior ministers get away with this kind of statement, they're not challenged, they're not confronted. And worse, in Bihar recently, the Election Commission has banned the BJP from publishing certain advertisements, right, which are communal.
That's a different thing.
No, one second. But the content of those ads were precisely what Mr. Narendra Modi said in a rally.
Let's allow Mr. Javadekar
The
to
ads
respond and
which
then
are
Sohail.
not published,
Yes.
how can you say these are the ads? This is horrible.
I'm sorry, an ad that was published was the Election Commission said you cannot republish this ad, and the contents of that ad are precisely what Mr. Modi said at two rallies. So I'm saying you have a party which is indulging in divisive propaganda. Unfortunately, the office of the Prime Minister...
But is the BJP the only party
Of
that's
course not.
indulging in
Of
that?
course it isn't.
Now,
But
I
it
want
is
to pick
ruling
up,
India
but
right now.
Ashok made one point that some of the protests have got merged with a kind of closeness
See,
to the Congress.
Modi every time, 1 minute, Barkha,
Yes.
Modi every time says 125 crore people of India. He never discriminates on the basis of caste.
Sir,
or
he
creed
said
or
एक
religion.
विशेष
And that is
विशेष
our
संप्रदाय
ethos.
जो है आपका आरक्षण छीनने वाला है, छीन के उनको दिया जा रहा है।
नहीं, वो ऐसा
ये
नहीं।
इश्तिहार, इस इश्तिहार को
वो तो लालू जी, और देखो बात साफ है, लालू जी और नीतीश के लिए बोल रहे हैं, और नीतीश और लालू जी के भाषण दिखाए, और कल नीतीश ने इंटरव्यू में प्रणव राय और सबके सामने बताया भी कि हाँ हमने ये कहा था। तो
जावड़ेकर जी,
मुस्लिम दलित
जिस इश्तिहार पे प्रतिबंध, जिस इश्तिहार पे बैन लग चुका है, ठीक है, उसी बात को प्रधानमंत्री ने दोहराया था।
Okay, I want to take this now to Suhail and Khushbu. Suhail, there is a needless personalization in this entire debate, where the media has become a kind of whipping boy or whipping girl. My point to you is that if I or my colleague puts a question to Zubin Mehta, and he says that I may not think that returning awards is the best way, but you can't ostracize or attack the writers who are doing this, because that would be akin to a cultural dictatorship. These are his words, not the media's. So why are we now saying, shooting the messenger? Why are we now saying this is an overstatement? Why are so many people saying this? If this is all imagined, why are some of our most eminent voices coming out and saying this?
I think it's a great question.
No,
I've seen the kind of abuse many journalists, I've seen the abuse that many journalists have experienced at the hands of trollers, blah, blah, blah. The point today is we have injected every facet of India with hatred, with divisiveness, with polarization. It's George W. Bush 2.0. Either you're with us or you're against India. And a lot of this, as I think Siddharth or Prakash mentioned, I think Ashok also chipped in saying that there are huge alignments within the so-called eminent category field, because we've had a culture in this country where the political party gets its own people to head positions that they don't even perhaps deserve. So that's number one. Number two, I don't think we are actually analyzing the core issue which is afflicting our country today.
Which is?
And the core issue is, it's not about fear, it's not about democracy, it is about the absence of the rule of law, or seeming absence of the rule of law by a few at the cost of the many.
Okay.
The Dadri incident happened, and it was brazen enough. Today, no one in Bombay has the guts to take on Uddhav Thackeray and file a case against him in Bombay High Court.
Yeah.
No one has the courage. We are becoming a ballless country, a country which lacks the courage to actually stand up for our rights.
Prakash Javadekar, Maharashtra is your state. The Shiv Sena is a junior partner. This nonsense about shutting down concerts, smearing people with oil and ink, now warning Pakistani artists, that you will not be allowed to be cast in Hindi films. I mean, why is the BJP not...
No, but let me tell you, see, Shiv Sena is not BJP. It's a different party. And they have these kinds of, 1 minute, they are doing this for years together, which we opposed every time. And Devendra Pandit's government successfully provided security, and Kasuri's book launch happened there.
But not
So
after he was saying. But Khushbu, I have a question for you. The Congress think tank. This is.
No, 1 minute, Barkha. I want one last thing. Last thing to say. Barkha, I just want to say one last thing.
Yes.
For all your viewers who understand Bengali, there is a saying in Bangla, Shob Dosh Nando Ghosh. So the people who want to afflict all problems will say everything is Modi's problem or Sonia's problem.
Yeah.
We never accept that it is our problem, that we are increasingly intolerant. We don't want a contrarian view. And we interrupt people during television news programs.
Okay, now I let you have your full say, so you can't have that gripe. Khushbu, the Congress think tank to host left scholars at conclave on liberal values. A number of historians, number of writers are going to be on a platform that is backed by the Congress party. This will only fuel Ashok's argument that there is an alignment between many of those protesting and the Congress party. So why should we see them as neutral?
No, they are neutral. You have to understand the people who have been protesting, they have been working individually for the people of this country.
But why should they be on a party platform?
Let me finish. People, the historians, the scientists, the businessmen who have spoken up, the business magnates who have spoken up, the FTIS students or the Sahitya Kala Academy winners, the 10 National Award winners, and on the whole, the people, even a person like Zubin Mehta who comes down from abroad for a concert and he speaks, I am saying these people, they have been speaking in individual capacity. They are not backed by a particular Congress party.
Siddharth, how do you see this RGICS conclave that's going to happen, where you've got everybody from Kumar Ketkar to Akar Patel, at least according to this article, in attendance? Even Romila Thapar, where the left says she doesn't attend, CPM forums either.
I mean, this is the choice academics and intellectuals make. If there's a forum you want to go and debate and present your views.
But then they can't. Will they be able to present themselves politically neutral in the discourse?
Why not?
Like Dr. V.K. Saraswat spoke at the Vijayadashmi function of the RSS. Are we now? Do you now accept, or will he now accept that he is not an independent?
Correct.
See, I'm not going to go into one particular RGICS event or not, because you have a right to speak there. Okay? And of the various people named, some are frankly closer to the Congress than others. Okay, so I don't want to name names, it's not my job to issue certificates. I'll go back to the original point that there are some people amongst the eminent artists, intellectuals, call them what you will, who are protesting, who are actually genuinely seeing, imagining the worst of a party they are instinctively hostile to. But I don't think they're necessarily Congress or CPM people. There are others.
You're saying they're more anti-BJP than
some
in
of them,
support of any party.
but there are others who have frankly been part of the Congress patronage network. I don't want to name the person, but there's one eminent former civil servant who has spent his entire life in Madhya Pradesh doing what a very powerful chief minister of that.
You're referring to Ashok Vajpayee.
Well, you said it, I didn't.
No.
I mean, we all know his career record.
And therefore, the point being what?
No, so the point, I'm not suggesting that everyone will start with the same brush.
Now,
so
when the Prime Minister, point
but
taken.
there are some people who are clearly political, just as there may be other people who may be, in the BJP camp or the CPM camp or whatever.
When the Prime Minister says, Sharam se doob maro, don't lecture us on intolerance about 30 years since 84 in this month, do you...
There's one thing. There is
that language is
election rhetoric. There is election rhetoric at the end of a grueling, fatiguing, completely irritating 5-phase Bihar election, which everybody is fed up of, including those campaigning. So I actually believe that after that cathartic moment of that last vote being cast and whoever wins or loses, that being over, I think some of this will come down.
Okay, last comments, everybody. Khushbu. Congress will have to confront its own demons, its own past. You can't occupy the moral high ground without being able to confront 1984.
We have always believed in democracy. Until date, we have been fighting for it. 1984, time and again, people...
Why did Rahul Gandhi refuse to answer the question? I come back to
He has already spoken about it. Why do we just dwell back into what happened in 1984?
Will say, I have already said
that is far more
recent. Follow the president's message.
1984 is not the issue. The tolerance is about now the way this country is spiraling into a larger platform where people are scared to utter a word, to live, to eat.
Very quickly, 20 seconds.
We've seen 3 massive tragedies: 84, killing of 6; 89 onwards, the exodus of the Pandits; 2002, killing of Muslims in Gujarat. The masterminds and the foot soldiers who did all this have not been punished. Let's not, for heaven's sake, play one set of victims against the other and use that as a shield to protect the powerful.
In any case, we need to discuss things which are happening in 2015, and those are more relevant than, frankly, a past none of us is happy with.
Sohail, very quickly, then Prakash ji gets the last word.
Replace the 9 p.m. news with Chitrahar and all will be well.
Not on this channel. You've got your channels mixed up. Okay, last...
But I'm actually, on a serious note, Barkha, on a serious note, I think some of the points you mentioned, one thing is we as citizens need to take back charge. We are willing to crawl when asked to walk. We are being subjugated. We believe we live in fear or we live in strength, depending on where we are aligned.
Okay.
But actually, there is a judiciary which is even more independent than ever before.
Yeah.
There is a media like yours, like everyone else's, which is highlighting points every day. There are journalists like Ashok and Siddharth. So, I don't see where democracy is under threat.
Okay, I'm out of time.
I think we are bringing upon a demon of our own making.
Prakash Javadekar, you said the one lesson from all this is right communication at the right time. Do you believe there is merit in the Prime Minister making an unequivocal statement? And had he just made that statement, would this controversy even be alive today?
Let us be tolerant in intolerance debate, because sometimes we are bringing as if Narendra Modi is anchor and he has to comment on everything and everything. But let me tell you, as a party, as a government, we need to communicate faster. That's okay.
Okay.
The message here is that the country has not lost its character of diversity. It is well intact. We have complete peace, and we have already showcasing people to people. There is no real
But Prakash ji, I'm so sorry, but even as we're speaking, no, I have to ask you something. Even as we're speaking, Kailash Vijayvargiya has said on Twitter that Shah Rukh Khan's dil is in Pakistan. And just on the interview to me, he said that the most degrading, hurtful moment for me is to constantly prove my patriotism. And ये अभी हुआ है. हम बात कर रहे हैं और ये अभी Twitter पे आया है.
Barkha, there are idiots everywhere.
मैं वही बता रहा हूँ.
Barkha, there is no dearth of idiots
मैं वही बता रहा हूँ. बरखा.
जी.
See, with camera, iPhone and everything, Twitter and WhatsApp.
But do you how do you respond to this?
No, but he is not qualified reporter.
Huh?
But he's a spokesperson. He writes it on his personal Twitter handle. How can you deny that?
The exact statement. Can you give me the exact statement?
I condemn it. I may not agree with Shah Rukh Khan.
This is what
but Prakash,
spirals into more large
रहते
issues.
हैं हिंदुस्तान में, लेकिन उनका दिल है पाकिस्तान में. This is Kailash Vijayvargiya saying this about Shah Rukh Khan.
See, because you are also picking up that there are so many
It's there for the world to see,
Twitter comments
it's
which
there
have
for the
come,
world
but you are
to
picking
see.
only that.
आप कहाँ
That's
से
the
उसको
issue.
छुपाओगे?
He said it on Twitter, sir. Will he be rebuked? Will he be
अरे
rebuked?
भाई समाज में बहुत अच्छाई है. This country's ethos is live and
How do
let
you see
live,
this comment,
and
sir?
that has survived.
How do you see this comment?
That is because you have picked only one comment. There are 1,000 good comments
on,
which
sir.
you are not interested to
No,
show.
I'm saying will he be rebuked for
That's
this
the
kind of
issue.
commentary? Does he not embarrass your party with this
I have
kind of
already
comment?
done. I have on your channel done it right now.
Okay.
But you don't want to. Still, you want to ask me.
No, I've heard you and we'll leave it there. Prakash Javadekar, thank you so much. Khushbu, Ashok, Siddharth and Sohail. We'll be taking a quick break, and then that very man who's being told that uska dil Pakistan mein hai, excerpts from his interview where he said to me, the most degrading and hurtful moment of my life is the number of times I've had to prove my patriotism. Highlights from the Shah Rukh Khan interview are up next. This industry that you work in, if I compare it to a Meryl Streep or a George Clooney or a Matt Damon, whom I see taking extremely political positions, and I don't mean party politics, but political positions in the deepest sense, why don't we see that here? Why do we see such reticence from you guys? And I exempt you, because I know you have often stated your mind, but why is there a general fearfulness?
And yes, often I've come to you and said I would not like to speak on this because I'll get into trouble.
And then I promptly land you in trouble.
And you said, no, you've been very kind and said, okay, then I'll let you be. And I respect that. But, you know, I'll mention both the things. In the West, I think opinions are respected. In our country, and I'm not trying to belittle our country in any which way, or see, I have to explain everything.
Don't qualify, it's okay.
Okay, all right. So, just speaking my mind, I think opinion is taken with a little more aggression if it's not agreeing with yours. We don't have debates and discussions. We take sides.
Yeah.
We need to prove a point. I'm like black and white. There's no, क्या बोल रही तू यार? अच्छा बरकत, तेरे को ऐसा लग रहा I don't know, you have a point, but I still stick to mine because I believe in this. If your point is not in agreement with me, we are a little intolerant about things. No, it can't be. But why can't we just listen to me? You know, I just want to say this is another. No, ये ऐसा है, क्योंकि ऐसा है. So there is a belief system which overpowers your thought process for discussion or listening to others. हम सुनते ही नहीं दूसरे की बात यार. हम सुनते ही नहीं है दूसरे की बात. And I notice so many journalists too on television. सुन तो लो क्या बोल रहा है यार. They also don't listen. You know, like, अरे यार अच्छा ठीक है, okay, sorry. You say what you have to, and I just listen and go back home. Thank you very much. Honestly, I don't speak my mind often enough because I worry that for no reason my 3-day shooting will get cancelled, my film will get stopped, and I'm not saying I'm vulnerable and I'm scared. I can take it on, but there are a lot of people attached. My business is the cinema.
But aren't some things more important than the business of that Friday release? You know, and you have taken positions, right? I remember you're saying very strongly that Pakistanis should be allowed to play in the IPL. You had the Shiv Sena hounding you for that. I mean, I remember, because I remember being the center of it all. We spoke about it on television. You now fast forward to the city that we're in today, where I think it's a crying shame that every time there's anything associated with visiting Pakistanis, you have Ghulam Ali's concert shut down, you have Sudhindra Kulkarni smeared with oil and ink, you have a Pakistani co-star in your upcoming film. Are you going to stand up and say and speak for her right to be part of this industry, or are you going to kowtow to the Shiv Sena?
The fact that she's in my film means I have no, I think it should be the word is not allowed. Whichever space and place starts questioning its creative people at whatever level, as writers, as authors, as journalists, as filmmakers, as poets, I think they're going to get a huge lashback, because creative minds are finally going to write stuff, and which is going to affect the society in a big way. So whoever is doing it, whoever takes a stand like this against creative people, it is so silly not to have creative. I mean, what have they got to do? The politics of states, politics of two countries, they can be handled by the politician, and they're doing it, I'm sure, to the best of their ability or their own agendas, and they will continue to do so. How does an artist, this intercultural exchange of two countries which were same? I mean, that's also one point that I'm like, it used to be same some years back, man. So allow it. And how does that change or affect, our religion cannot be defined and show respect to by our meat-eating habits. It is, how banal and silly is that? And, you make a big thing about it. You make a huge thing about it. And someone like me, I don't want to even comment on it, not only because I'll get into trouble, but my thing is, ki kya baat kar rahe ho yaar, ye matlab itna
But you've already commented on it. You're saying it's absurd that we live in a country where beef eating can cause violence and death.
And how is that respecting one religion and disrespecting the other? I mean, the whole point is, like I give this example, my house, do what you want to, follow your own religion. My kids came back one day from school and, they were a little confused, are we Hindus or Muslims? And I said, put in Christians. It doesn't make a difference. I mean, how does it make, I mean, we're all there, and I'm from an Irish brother Christian school and Catholic school, and I know that stuff too. I've read it. I read those stories out to my kids, and from the Quran, and from the Ramayana, and from the Mahabharata. I'm not saying I'm extremely secular, but it's never been questioned in a house. And if it can't be questioned in a house like this, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to make India sound like me, but I'm from Delhi. I work in Mumbai. I live in Mumbai. I go and play cricket in Kolkata. My wife is a Punjabi. My mother's from Hyderabad. My dad was from Pakistan. And we live quite happily ever after in a house. So why can't we do that in the country also? Even if it's small units, 4, 4, 8, 8, 7 like this, do it to your neighbor. I sit with my neighbor. I don't know what religion this is, what meat he eats, what food he eats, whether he has vegetable or not. And it's all right when I meet him to hug him, whatever he eats. And why should that start defining a discipline which is much more major a reason for being created than the food habits of people?
But is it frightening to you as a product of this syncretic background that today this country is trapped in battles over cow meat and whether Mumbai should ban a certain kind of meat during a certain kind of festival, that there is violence attached to this? This is no longer an academic debate. I mean, the current raging debate is intolerance. And do you believe that there is rising intolerance? Do you believe we live in an environment where it is getting tougher and tougher to just say something and not be attacked and not be assaulted for it?
I think the one reason for it also, the platforms have increased. Maybe there were enough similar attacks then, but there were not enough platforms for us to hear the voice. Now there's social media, there's television has become much bigger, radio, and everyone is speaking. Everybody's talking. Everybody has a right to talk and put it out there. So I think maybe it might have been there earlier. That's one of, I hope so. That is not something, it's not a modern phenomena, it's not a recent phenomena. I'm assuming, chalo yaar, pehle bhi aisa tha, lekin sunai nahi tha. Now you hear it a lot more. Second part of it is, I think just because you can hear it a lot more, like in my case, I think we should speak a little more sensibly. I think we should be a little more tolerant. We should give each other some leeway. And what each other, yaar, you're living in a country, I'll be very honest, and I know how strange it sounds, but if this, our country, we keep on talking about religion, we're going to go back to the dark ages. There is nothing less important than religious intolerance. It cannot be, it's shocking to me. It is shocking to me. I can't imagine, yes, and people tell me, maybe in smaller towns, the way people are brought up, it's different, blah, blah, blah. But I meet people from everywhere. Maybe from the place I am in, not enough. But I still meet people. Yeah, of course, you can make their way of thinking different by, public speaking or being larger than life and, changing mindsets. But I don't think religion, intolerance is any which way forward for any country. I think it's the worst kind of thing that can happen, and intolerance of any kind. And now we're looking at such small issues, and like you said, these are not small issues. If it's leading to violence,
they're small, but they're leading to violence, and death and murder.
It's really, really shocking. I mean, and how do Indians go and show their face? When I'm outside and people say, "You guys don't do this." And I'm not saying that's what defined my country, because I can tell you 1 million things which define my country beyond this intolerant part. But when somebody's asking you, you've got to answer it. And it doesn't augur well for us as Indians, to go and, even in a joke, answer them. No, yeah, it's some little guys who are doing, that's all you do. What answer do you give to this? You certainly don't become serious about it, because I'd rather talk about India in a manner which India really deserves to be spoken about.
And India's image is being hurt in the world. Though that's not the primary reason to change it. We have to change it for our own
change it for
sakes.
us. We don't have to change it because of the imagery is okay. The imagery will be bettered or lessened by different things. But I think if we don't change it for ourselves, it's dangerous for us. It's dangerous for all of us Indians. Yeah.
You said that not being secular is the biggest crime for a patriot. What do you mean by that?
See, either you love your country or you love your country in parts, however that partition is considered in your head, whether it's state-wise, whether it's religion-wise, whether it's region-wise, whether it's language-wise. If I'm a patriot, I love my country from top to bottom, from either side to either side. I can't suddenly say, मेरे को ना ये area का हो ना ये area सही लगता है मुझको. Yes, of course, you love your house a little more than somebody else's, so clean it up, wash it, make it look nice, and be welcoming to people who want to come to your house. But do not question the fact that that person's house is not like mine, so it's not as good as mine, and I'm not going to, and why is, okay, it's not as good as yours. That's also acceptable. You have an opinion, but I want to change it and make it look like mine. Just if you think on the small level, how redundant and stupid a thought that is. So if you're a true patriot, you have to love your country as a whole. You cannot love it in parts and pieces of religion or region or language. You cannot do it.
What's the most hurtful thing that you've actually had to hear? Like, I would imagine that it would be to constantly have to explain your patriotism. One of the things you wrote in that New York Times article that got so widely debated was, why is it that every time an act of violence or terrorism or something orthodox happens, I have to stand up as a moderate Muslim? And you've spoken about people at rallies saying, tell him to go to Pakistan, people writing this, your children asking you questions about this. And there must come a time when you say, I'm sick to death of this. Why must I be the poster boy for moderate Muslims? Why is my patriotism questioned?
Yeah, it is.
At Wankhede Stadium, I remember you never actually revealed what was said. I know you told me off camera, a communal comment, you're kept out of it, but again, it's your religion.
Yeah, and I, अब तो आदत सी पड़ गई कि अगर ये बोलेंगे तो बोलेंगे, but it's the most degrading and hurtful and disturbing. And when I had to write and explain the article that you're talking about, I did it on on a stage when I was launching another award function, and I requested the organizers and the journalistic house that, listen, can I take this 2 moments to explain my article that I wrote? Perhaps, I don't like to look back upon things that happened, but perhaps one of the saddest moments of my life.
To have your patriotism
question. You were talking about just now, and I take a lot of things in the run of things and say, okay, chalta hai yaar, sab kar lenge, we'll deal it with humor. But yeah, that day to stand and read those 4 pages about an article of 4 pages and explain to people that, listen, I'm an Indian, and that was extremely sad, and it's a very personal sadness. I can't share it with anyone. Just because you were talking about it, I didn't know how to tell you that. And just saying that does not make it all right. It's uncomfortable. It's disturbing. Why did I have to do this, man? And and like you, good-thinking people will say, why did you do it? Because it's just a nuisance. Then I'm here, and there were journalists and everybody, and of course most of them are my friends and they like me. But it is news right now, and they have to ask me. I'm launching somebody's big function. I don't want that destroyed now. So let me explain, guys. I'm Indian. Now can I, as an Indian, launch this function for International Audience Award? That was very sad. As a matter of fact, a few instances like this have made me change my stand at times. And I said, listen, let me just stay out of this. And I don't think it's a big loss.
What? Of having your patriotism questioned because you make a statement as an Indian Muslim?
Yeah, and how can you question my patriotism? There is nothing to question about it. It's been too long. I'm 50 years here now. Yeah, come on. There's nothing to question. How can I be unpatriotic? By what standard can I be unpatriotic? I'm an Indian movie star. I'm an Indian-born Indian. I'm Indian. And how does that get questioned? Even if I go and live in China, I'm Indian. Wherever I go. How is it questionable? By a comment or a thought? And why should it be questioned? Why should not? And I have platforms to talk about it. Like here, I can explain it and say, please don't question it next time. But there are a lot of people, I'm sure, who can't even explain their point of view. They were just saying it That, um, it makes you. I feel sad having to have done that. I feel sad having to curb myself from saying certain things.
Because you feel that speaking as Shah Rukh Khan, that same comment gets viewed differently because you're an Indian Muslim. And therefore there's a different kind of scrutiny of that comment.
Yes, maybe yes.
No, I'm asking you, is that what you feel when you say it's degrading and it's happened a few times?
The degrading part is to explain myself. That I wasn't trying to say my country is not as good as any other country, or I was talking about tolerance even between countries, and I was just saying, and see, again I'm saying it, I've got family from all over the world. My father's the youngest freedom fighter, one of the youngest freedom fighters for this country, and then having to always have to talk if there is an issue, if there is a riot, and there's a Hindu-Muslim riot, then I have to take one other stand and say, look, this is okay, we Muslims don't believe in terrorism. We don't.
But why do you have to say it every time?
Why do you say it? We don't. Me being a Muslim, I can't terrorize my 2.5-year-old child. He terrorizes me. I mean, we are not terrorists. Yeah, there is a whole section of people which have misused that part of religion and done it. Does not. But then वो ऐसा बोलते हैं ना, एक मछली तालाब को गंदा करती है. So I guess you have to live with it. But having said that, I am not one of the machlis. I mean, I can't be one of the machlis.
How do you explain it to your kids? Because, mixed marriage, different faiths, and then you have your patriotism question, you have people saying just go to Pakistan. This is the other new thing, that on Twitter you express an opinion, people don't get, please go to Pakistan.
वो तो यही बोलते रहते हैं सारा दिन. माँ बहन की गालियाँ देते हैं, बहुत गंदी गंदी गालियाँ देते हैं, और मैं दूसरे प्रोग्राम पे बोला, अभी भी बोलूँगा, नाम बता दो, टेलीफोन बता दो, गालियाँ मैं आके वापस दूंगा तुमको सामने मुंह पे.
सच में?
100%. एक बार नाम टेलीफोन नंबर बता दो, एड्रेस बता दो, तो घर से उठा के ले जाऊँगा, और या घर में आके मारूंगा. दूसरा, मेरे को ऐसा कि वहाँ भेज दो इस कंट्री में, यार मुझसे ज़्यादा इस कंट्री में रहने का हक किसी और को नहीं, ये मेरा बिलीफ है, और उतना ही हक आपको भी है, और उतना ही हक इनको भी है, और सबको है, जितने भी लोग देख रहे हैं. सो प्लीज स्टॉप टेलिंग मी go away from here and settle down somewhere. I'm not going. Even if you push me out, I'm not going. This is I always say this is a country where my father fought for the freedom, and he gave me a piece of it, so I'm very proud of it, and I'm not giving away what my father gave to anyone or leaving it any which way. So please shut up. I mean, that's it. Bottom line, shut up. Really, keep your mouth shut before I keep it shut for you. I hate it.